Hello, this is Faith at Faith and Books. How are you doing? So it's been the first week of Victober. It's now October 7th. This is my oldest grandson's birthday. So it was making me think back to last year at this time. I was just recovering from COVID. And I had read George Eliot's Sketches of Clerical Lives. I think it's I always get the title slightly wrong. And really enjoyed it, in spite of the fact that I was really ill. And I'm so glad that we did not plan an outdoor party, because last year we rented a moon bounce. Today we're going to have a bowling party. So I'm glad it's indoors, because it's a very rainy day, a very dark, rainy day. So anyway, I tried to vlog. Like, I started vlogging on Monday. Actually, I just vlogged on Monday. And then I was going to vlog again on Friday, but I wound up not doing it. So then I made a video, and I tried to put them all together. And I messed up the editing, and I don't know how to fix it. And I didn't really like I'm not a good vlogger. I'm not good with camera work, and it just didn't come together right. So I gave up on that, and I decided that I'm just going to do a weekly update during Victober. So this is my weekly update. Can you hear the rain? It's really raining. So the book that I'm really focusing on, I think is really central to me right now, is The Way We Live Now by Anthony Trollope. This is the group read. And they have a discussion forum on Discord from books. Katie at Books and Things has it, and I've been on there a little bit, and I'm trying to follow the schedule exactly, and I've been able to keep up, so I'm exactly on track. And the funny thing that I've discovered is, I thought before, when I attempted this book several years ago, I thought that I had given up. I DNF'd it, I thought, after just a few chapters. But I'm just now in chapter 19, I think, might be the last chapter that I read. So it's actually, so far, it's been a reread for me. And I keep thinking, did I read this? Did I read this? I thought I had reached the point. But then when you get to the chapter where they introduce Ruby Ruggles, I was like, I remember this chapter, because she just kind of comes out of the blue. And so, yeah, so I think I'm up to chapter 20. So I think that this might be the first chapter that I didn't read last time. The other really interesting thing about it is that since I attempted this book, I have read the Palliser series. So this is actually my 15th Trollope book. I've read the Barset, Chronicles of Barset books. And I've read the Palliser books, and then I've read, I just finished Dr. Wardle's School. That was my 14th book. And then at some point I read He Knew He Was Right. And so this is my 15th Trollope. And I DNF'd it before, as I said, so I'm really excited to be able to stick to it this time. And it's really hitting me differently too. It really is. Before, I just didn't like anybody at all. This time I'm seeing that they're more nuanced, and I'm more interested in what's happening than I was last time. But I was going to make a point about something. Oh yeah, so now when I'm reading it, when I first started reading it, just in the first opening chapters, they make reference to minor characters from the Palliser series. So there's this overlap. So that was really interesting. And see, I wouldn't have picked up on that before when I started this, but I could this time because I've read the Palliser. So that was pretty neat to see. So anyway, I'll see how this goes, see if I finally get to a part that I haven't read before. And it's going well. I'm enjoying it. So I feel good about The Way We Live Now. Let's see, the next thing that I'm reading, that I'm really listening to, is Little Dorrit. I love the illustrations in this one, though. So I missed that about the audio, that I'm not. Yeah, let me see if I can find an illustration. The room with the portrait. So, you see that? Yeah. That's Arthur Clennam's house, I guess. So wait, I'm not reading along. I'm listening while I cook dinner or I work. I have this project I'm working on where we honor the season of creation, September 1st to October 4th, which is when we're supposed to think about God's gift of creation. And one of the projects we do is we collect, it's actually me that does this. We collect pill bottles and you clean them and then you send them off to this ministry in Ohio, and they have connections to doctors in developing nations where they do not have pill bottles available to put medicine in. And so we've been doing this for about a year now. So that takes so long. It's very long and arduous. And I just started. We just collected them last weekend. Was it last weekend? And so I'm just starting. And you have to sort them into the different types, and you have to wash them in warm sudsy water, and you have to dry them, and then you have to pack them and mail them. And it takes a long time because I have hundreds of pill bottles. But what's really good is it's great to listen to Little Dorrit while I'm doing that. So I know I listened through, let's see, I listened through The Lock. So I've listened through chapter 8, and I'm about to start chapter 9. So and I love Little Dorrit. I love Dickens. I love the atmosphere he creates, and the creepy people are really creepy, and the sweet people are really sweet, and there's so much humor in it. He just creates a great atmosphere. So I'm really enjoying that. Oh, and we figured out the mystery. Okay, so my husband swears that we listened to this book one time. That's what he thought, that he remembered. But I said, no, it's a really long, where were we driving that we listened to this, that we wouldn't have had the whole family with us? Like, it's not something, we never have taken a vacation that long away from kids where we could listen to a whole book in the car. So that didn't make sense to me. But he knows the story and I don't. And I realized, thinking about it, that, and I even looked this up, in 2008, there was the BBC miniseries, and right around that time, there's a car just driving around the parking lot. Has just been driving around. Maybe it's somebody practicing driving in the rain. They've just been like, it's weird what they're doing. But anyway, I'm the only one here, so there's no one else here. Anyway, what was I saying? Oh yeah, around that time, see, we used to love to watch those period dramas together. My husband and I would snuggle up on the couch and watch these things and get really into them. But what happened was, and this was so unfortunate, I would be really tired at night and I would doze off. So I couldn't watch the whole thing. I'd just sit down to watch it, and then in a few minutes I'd doze off. But then I would wake up and I'd have like a headache. And sometimes the headache would go away, and sometimes I would take ibuprofen and that would take care of it. But sometimes it would trigger a terrible migraine the next day. And it was a new trigger to me. And so I just stopped watching TV at night a lot. I do it occasionally, but I really got out of the habit of it because it was causing these migraines. And it was very sad. But I think that maybe I watched a tiny bit of Little Dorrit and that he watched the whole thing. Because I do remember Arthur Clennam's house. I just remember that there was this really creepy, gloomy looking house that's slanting. And I think that's been introduced. So I think I think I saw a tiny bit of Little Dorrit, and that was it. And that's why I don't know the story and he does. So anyway, I'm really, really enjoying it. I love Dickens. So, and I'm doing well on that. I think I'm going to be just fine with it. And then the Kindle read is Moonfleet by, I always have to look up who did it because he's new to me. Where is he? John Mead Faulkner. And this book it was published in 1898. I wonder when Treasure Island was published, because it's really reminding me of Treasure Island. And it's very cozy. And it's quite creepy, I think, but that it's considered a children's book. This would have scared me if I read it as a child. Um, and it's very cozy. I mean, it's scary too, but it's just the atmosphere of the village, and it's old fashioned, and it's told in the first person from this young man, who is, I think he's 15, and there's this legend that Blackbeard is buried under the church, and that he hid a diamond somewhere. And this young man would like to get that diamond because he's poor. He's living with his aunt, who isn't very nice. And the thing is, the village is known for smuggling. It's on the coast, and smuggling is just part of its culture. And at the very beginning, there's tension because the excise men shot and killed one of the smuggler's son, also 15. And so it opens up. I mean, it's got death in it, right? It opens up with this guy, and I can't remember his name. His name might have been John, who's helping the one of the villagers make a casket for the dead, or no, not a casket, a tombstone. Carving a tombstone. See, the car is driving around again. Okay, parked for a little while. Now it's driving around again. It's just weird. Okay. Anyway, so I'm enjoying this book, Moonfleet. It's one thing that's weird about it is the church is like haunted. I just think that's a weird idea that a church can be haunted. But I mean, it's not really haunted. It's that there's this crypt underneath the church. And that the churchyard is haunted because there's graves there. Or this is the legend anyway. But it's just, it's a weird concept that, the church is in a sanctuary, like from evil spirits or whatever. It's, I don't know, Victorian novels are weirdly secular, even when they're talking about churches and clergy and stuff like that. Like, they're not, I mean, Anthony Trollope, in The Way We Live Now, there's actually something interesting going on about because one of the characters invites a Roman Catholic priest and the bishop to dinner, and there's a little bit of discussion about, I mean, I think he's saying how complacent the Church of England is, whereas this Catholic priest is annoying, but he's zealous, like it's meaningful to him, and he's willing to put himself out there, whereas the bishop, pleasant as he is very conventional and doesn't want to ruffle feathers, and it's very complacent. And so I think maybe Trollope's saying something. I'm not quite sure what he's saying, but anyway, it's just weird. I think Elizabeth Gaskell and George Eliot both get more spiritual. But I don't know. A lot of the there's all this talk about clergy and stuff like that, but nothing very spiritual. You have to really read between the lines. I mean, I do think the British just aren't comfortable talking about religion or faith issues or things like dogma or whatever. So anyway, so those are the three big Victorian reads. I haven't attempted anything else. I know I still want to read Mrs. Warren's Profession and those Victorian ghost stories. I'm waiting until closer to Halloween for that. And then the other two books that I'm reading right now, I'm still reading Thomas Merton's The Seven-Story Mountain. I'm going to be reading this for a while. I think I'm probably going to just take my time and hope to finish it by Advent, because I think in Advent I'm going to be reading Dorothy L. Sayers' I forget what they're called, sacral plays or something like that, with a group. So I have time to just leisurely go through this. His writing is marvelous, and I'm still in his childhood. I'm only on page, 60? I'm just reading a few pages a day. It's really, he's just a wonderful storyteller, and he's talking about his time. Now, he was living with his pop and bon maman in Long Island, and then his father comes back. His father's an artist, and decides to take him to the south of France, which is where he'd been born. And he takes him and not his little brother. His little brother stays with the grandparents. And at first he didn't want to go because for 2 years, he'd been living in Long Island. He had a little bit of a stability. And he didn't want to leave his friends. But then he winds up going to France with his father, and he settles in. And there's many things he loves about France. But he hates the school that he has to go to. Now I think he's about 11 or 12 in the story. It's really good. And he intermingles all his thoughts. He's remembering his father. And while his father wasn't like a churchgoer or anything, he did have, strong principles that Thomas Merton admired. And his mother, who has passed away, had a lot of issues with religion, but then she became a Quaker. So he remembers her being a Quaker in the last couple of years of her life, and she died of stomach cancer, like in her 30s. So I'm enjoying this very much. And then I'm also in Mitzi at Mitzi Reads and Writes. She has this Nancy Drew read along that's going on. It's a Voxer group. And this is the next one. So this weekend, I have to read 8 chapters in The Way We Live Now. I may or may not do Little Dorrit. I may not read Little Dorrit over the weekend. I'm not sure. If I get a chance, I will. It's going to be kind of a busy weekend. But I'm going to try and knock this out this weekend. So, and it won't be hard. I'm already page 30. It goes to 182. So so The Hidden Staircase. This is fun, going back and reading Nancy Drew. That's just a really light, fluffy, fun thing to do. And the last thing I'm going to talk about is, I was so sad. I wanted to read a picture book out loud again. Now I did the other one. I don't think it worked. I think I need a channel just for reading to children. Then I think I'll be a lot less. I wasn't relaxed when I was reading it because I wasn't sure of my audience, I think. If I know I'm just reading to kids, I'll loosen up and I'll be more animated and that sort of thing. And I had sort of thought, I want to read this book for the Feast of St. Francis of Assisi, which was on Wednesday. But it was such a busy, overwhelming week. I couldn't get to it. But I do just want to show you this one book I have because the illustrations are absolutely gorgeous. It's reimagined. It's called Brother, Sun, Sister, Moon, St. Francis of Assisi's Canticle of the Creatures. And it's reimagined by Catherine Patterson. And illustrated by Pamela Dalton. These are absolutely stunning cutouts. They're just amazing. Look at this. This is the end papers. It's just gorgeous. Look at this. They're all like this. It's just so beautiful. It goes so well. Look at that robin. It goes so well with the words. It's just a really stunning picture book. I'm sure St. Francis loves it. So anyway, I wanted to read this out loud and show it to you, but I'm just showing it to you very briefly here. Okay, so that is I don't think I have anything else to say. Is there anything else I wanted to say? I wanted to talk about banned books because I think it was banned book week. And this is the thing. I'm against banned books. But to me, banned means something different than what they're saying now. Banned now means any book that has been challenged. In a school system, in a county somewhere, in some school system. If a book has been challenged, meaning a parent asks about a book or objects to a certain book, then that's considered banned. And to me, it's so propagandistic because, we're literary people. We know what banned means, right? We know the difference between questioned, challenged, banned. And the PEN America sticks them on this list, all the books that are banned, and we're supposed to be so terrified. But what it really, to me, and I don't know, I think every situation is different. So it could be that these horrible, people are trying to control children's minds or something. But to me, it can't be banned unless the government made it illegal, right? Like if you cannot sell or buy a book, it's banned. That's what's banned, right? You cannot publish directions on making a nuclear bomb, for example, or you cannot. I don't know if Bibles are banned in school, but they probably aren't on the library shelf unless it's like, where you're going to study the literature as literature in a college or something. But I bet that's probably banned. I know in Austria they banned Mein Kampf, so you cannot buy or sell it. You can in Austria. I don't know if you're in possession of it if you get arrested for that. But banned books, that's what I mean. I guess because I grew up during the Cold War, and I remember hearing these stories about these Russian writers writing these books, and if they had been caught with the books, they would have been thrown into prison or sent to Siberia or something. That to me is banned. And then there's a lesser ban, like I remember, because I did a little bit of research on this. I don't remember a lot of the details, but I remember reading that the grapes of wrath in 2 counties in California for a year was banned. Like they didn't allow you to sell those books. But to me, that's a much, much less. First of all, it was just for a year. Secondly, it was just 2 counties in one state. I mean, that's pittance. I'm sure it didn't affect his sales one bit. And in this day and age, when you can buy books from Amazon, or you can download books on your e-reader, or you can go to the public library, and there's interlibrary loans, and I mean, you can get books. So I think the idea of calling a book banned because some parents objected to it and didn't think it was appropriate for their elementary school or middle schooler, that is not a banned book. And I don't understand the thinking. Like, are parents never supposed to question? Like, they have no input whatsoever? What is the process for a parent saying, I have issues with this book? The parent might be wrong, but there should be a due process for parents. They're sending their kids to the school, their tax money is paying for the school. They have a right to have some kind of input. So to me, it's being used to shut down free speech is what it's being used for, in the name of free speech. And they're calling something banned that isn't banned. So I totally cannot get on this banned book bandwagon. I just think it's propaganda, and I think that people need to use a little bit more discernment. I'm just not with it. And at the same time, I'm opposed to truly banning books. And who knows, it could slip over into that. But I just don't think a book being objected to by a parent in some county in Tennessee or whatever means the same thing. And a lot of times it's misreported, and I think it's deliberate. And I have found, this just happened a couple weeks ago. Somebody was saying that this particular book was banned. It's one of the most banned books. So I looked it up. It was never banned. It was never, the newspapers had misreported it. They'd said that it had been banned. Turns out it had never been owned by the library, and that it had been some civic group that was going through, looking at books that were presented to elementary school, had put it on a potentially problematic book list. They just listed it as potentially problematic. It was never banned. And so the newspaper reports that it's banned, and then the next day they issue, this was the Washington Post, a little retraction. And it was the same, I also found in USA Today. So a lot of times it gets really misreported. They're just not reporting it correctly. And, another question I have. If a librarian can only buy so many books, and they decide that they're going to buy these books and not those books, are they banning the other books that they can't buy for the school system? That's not banning, right? That's just you have a limited ability to buy so many books, and so you're just going to buy that many books, right? So that's not banning, but it's almost like that would be seen as banning somehow. Or libraries have to cull books to make room for other books, right? I mean, it's a little bit different now because we have ebooks, but I'm sure they still do the physical thing too. So if you're culling books out of your library, is that banning? Or I remember there was an issue about some book they didn't want read. I don't know if it was Anne Frank or something like that. And they made a big hullabaloo about how, oh, they're banning this book. And it wasn't that. It was just that they had trouble teaching it, and they found another book on the same topic that they thought would be easier to teach from. So it was really just the teachers deciding to switch one book out and put another one in that talked about the same thing. So there was no anti-Semitism or anything. It was just an executive decision on the part of the teachers of how they were going to teach the thing. And it got all blown out of proportion. So just be careful, okay? Don't let people, fool you into getting all worked up about banned books. I really am not afraid that this country is about to start banning books. If they do, I'll be the first one out there. But I really, even in Florida, I don't think it's the case. I really don't think it's actually happening. So anyway, sorry about that rant. This got really long. I hope you're doing well. Happy Victober, and take care. Bye-bye.